Welcome, friends, patients, and fellow healthcare enthusiasts to another episode of Know Your Pharmacist Livestream. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, CEO of Pharmtrue, and your guide on this journey to better health and wellness. Today, we're diving into a topic close to my heart, empowering seniors. We're going to explore the intersection of technology, medication safety, herbal wellness, community impact, and men's health, all tailored to enhance the lives of our beloved seniors. Yes, we're going to kick things off looking at Beer's criteria. For those of you who know what that is, a vital tool for safe medication practices for seniors, right? All kinds of drug interactions when it comes to seniors and medication considerations that should be considered. Pharmacists play a great role in taking care of all of that. And in the Pharmacist Frontline, we will go ahead and, spark some good old awareness there. After that, we're going to be moving to demystify a little bit of digital literacy for senior citizens, making technology a friend, not a foe, hopefully. And then we're going to explore natural wellness in skilled nursing facilities. I think you guys know exactly what I mean by that. Looking to continue fostering a holistic approach to care. And guys, don't miss the celebration of our community achievements, including the inspiring Canaan Bower Memorial Scholarship. I think, those of you who know the story of that young man already know what a, fine young man he really is. So again, going to highlight him in our community spotlight. Lastly, tackling a topic overlooked in our men's health segment today, big senior special today, incontinence in men's health, with an open and honest discussion. Big shout out to show sponsors today. Thank you, Pharmtrue, High Horse, the Trichome Alliance, and Vado Speedway Park. Your support fuels our mission to educate, inspire, and engage. And everybody grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's embark on this enlightening adventure together. Remember, knowledge is power, everybody, and together we can make a difference. So let's get this thing started. Cool. Starting this thing off, Pharmacist Frontline, brought to you by Pharmtrue, talking about Beer's criteria. What is Beer's criteria? No, we're not just talking about beer, right? Yeah, we're actually talking about medications for seniors here. The Beer's criteria for potentially inappropriate medication use in older adults is a list of medications that healthcare providers reference to safely prescribe medications for adults above the age of 65. Healthcare providers use Beer's criteria as a guide to do no harm. So again, the Beer's criteria, it's a list of medications for seniors that can cause harm, right? It can cause risk. So who evaluates the medications in the Beer's criteria? Yes, pharmacists, obviously. Prescribers are your therapeutic, enforcers. They are driving the boat there for the whole entire therapeutic plan, So you also have in senior care, a lot of times caregivers. Some seniors are independent livers, but when you are looking at, 90% of adults are over the age of 65, take at least one prescription medication, while more than 66% of that group take more than 3 prescriptions a month. So Beer's criteria helps to chip away potentially harmful medications that can combine with side effects, that outweigh taking the medication in the first place, right? Risk versus benefit. You like to look at the two. And especially in our geriatric society, we are absolutely, needing to keep dialing that in, right? And this is where I was, talking about it there as we look at the responsibilities of who's the prescribers, who are the pharmacists, who are the pharmacies, how does it all work? What about the caregivers or the facilities? Well, actually, that's a whole entire thing. So Pharmacist Frontline segment talking about how to, look at who monitors and who polices Beer's criteria. There actually is a job of somebody for that. That's your consultant pharmacist. In the state of New Mexico, a consultant pharmacist is required at every facility that stores drugs, which is, pretty cool, right? And consultant pharmacists go to, nursing homes looking at medication profiles specifically to see, are medications at a harmful dose or a potentially harmful dose? Are you having drug-drug interactions? Are people doubling up on medications where they shouldn't be? So that's what the job of a consultant pharmacist is, right? To help seniors and help facilities to manage that, because it takes a team is what it comes down to, right? Sometimes providers are unaware of what everybody's on. If patients are doctor shopping, sometimes doctors do not know if patients are using multiple providers, right? Or using multiple pharmacies, and pharmacists and pharmacies do a great job at intervening there and taking a look at things like opiate dosage through your morphine equivalents, or looking, combinations of certain medications like benzodiazepines and, opiates. But there's OTCs, right, in the senior population that fall on the Beers criteria. So again, seniors, there's what I'm looking at here, common medications, like look at duloxetine even can be considered a concern. You want to have a dosage threshold there, nausea and diarrhea. Bromfed, confusion, cognitive impairment, delirium, that's OTC, right? Cognitive impairment is one of those big ones that, increases fall risk and increases a lot of other poor health outcomes. So medications that may worsen delirium, like, H2 blockers. May have never thought about that, right? Famotidine. So interesting to think about how that can maybe affect delirium. Doesn't always happen in, every case, but where can you look if you are trained on that to help somebody out? Right? Even in adults over the age of 65, I do talk about menopausal therapy, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, but you do want to be careful with hormones in that age. It could lead to unprogressive, growth, metastasis, cancer, right? Even NSAIDs, a lot of GI bleeding that can possibly occur. Drugs are not cleared as fast when you're over the age of 65. So when you're looking at other things that can increase and double down on, a state of delirium or a state of cognitive impairment, well, let's chop those first. Let's get those out of the way first. Let's keep everybody safe and healthy and where they need to be. And that's what the consultant pharmacist tries to do, right? So if you're looking at things like in the medication assessment here, like what are we looking at? Things that can change, right? Behavioral changes, unexplained weight gain or weight loss, apathy, bleeding or bruising, unexplained, fluid imbalance, dehydration, depression, mood disturbance, falls, dizziness, evidence of impaired coordination, mental status changes, new or worsening confusion, new cognitive decline, worsening of dementia, including delirium, inability to concentrate. Medications may exacerbate a senior's ability to, live, right, and operate more than the, healthy adults going to be compromised. And sometimes that could be the game changer there for, discontinuing a medication and getting somebody back to their quality of life or where they want to be. So being able to recognize that, slowed speech, thinking, body movements, rash, what could happen to seniors based on medications that they shouldn't be on, So how do you review that? Great interventions for the consultant pharmacist, which on the Pharmacist Frontline segment here, of course, shouting out how consultant pharmacists even, really look at those things. Oftentimes in skilled nursing facilities or facilities, or even at-home care, there's just different providers or different things going on, and maybe other things you may catch in the medication administration chart and so on and so forth, right? Is there different patterns of as needed medication being used? What sort of vitamins are perhaps helping or hurting, or is the timing between vitamins and medications, poor? So top interactions in long-term care, just to list some of these, 5 of the top 10 interactions in long-term care have to do with warfarin. Do you know what warfarin is? It's a blood thinner. And it's a great blood thinner. It works on your vitamin K pathways. However, because it adjusts your INR and it has so many drug interaction profiles here, it does require strict monitoring, right? And what does that mean is that other things that you put in your body may affect the levels of that blood thinner. So big things to look at, big things that also come into considerations when you think about, cannabis and seniors, right? In hospice, it's a little bit different because the plan of care becomes, trying to manage the directives for pain or uncomfortable symptoms, right? Managing that and just trying to prevent adverse consequences. So that's what, hospice is a different style of care. But when we look at where we're looking at medications and considering them in our geriatric population, that's something to consider, right? If somebody has not done if you don't know if your grandma or grandpa or your auntie or your uncle or any other caregiver that you have in your life or something like that if their medications are straight up or not, right? That it's worth asking, right? Was there a medication regimen review process done? Who's doing this? How does it all look together? What's going on with their kidneys? What's going on with, other functions within the body? So it's not just geriatrics for when I'm talking about, seniors in facilities, but also seniors and caregivers at home. A lot of us do help our parents. A lot of us, help our other family members or are part of that care in some other particular way. So always great questions to ask. Going through, particular medication regimen reviews as a pharmacist, you really do get to help improve the quality of life of patients. Sometimes things just pass over people's heads. So on the Pharmacist Frontline, talking about that today, guys, understanding Beer's criteria, look that up, and you may be surprised at certain medications that you see on there. And medications just work differently in older adults at the end of the day. Medication absorbs differently through an older adult's body. It may take literally just longer to break down medications. Multiple conditions can overlap and affect the way that, the body responds to medication. And an activity level as well, going from moderate activity to no activity or vice versa could potentially, affect the way that medication affects older adults. All things to keep in mind here. Capiche? All right, Pharmacist Frontline segment brought to you by Pharmtrue. Moving on to our next segment here, guys, digital literacy for senior citizens, talking about internet communications technology for seniors. So is this a possibility, right? What barriers are there for grandma and grandpa to, start using technology, whether it's cell phones or, computers or whatever other devices these may be? So I can talk a little bit about this here right now and why it might be important to you guys, whether or not you're a senior watching. And I'm sure you're aware of these things. If you're a senior that's actually able to watch this, you're probably, not struggling with technology as much. I understand. But what I'm getting at here is look at some of this data and just think like, some elderly people really do struggle with technology, right? How can you get elderly people on the same page and beef up everybody's digital literacy? What sort of access can digital literacy help actually improve for the elderly? So number one, continued independence, guys. You can be more independent living if you are tech savvy, especially if you're a senior, right? Literally easier for you to safely live longer, whether or not you have personal monitoring devices that you can just call for help when you need it and alert your families. The other thing about digital literacy too is social media and social connection. That literally actually helps to reduce seniors' feelings of loneliness and sense of purpose, right? When you can see your families grow up and doing their lives and be connected and engaged with, the things that you care about as a senior. So, looking at senior living here, talking about digital literacy and seniors, it really does tie into the entire, senior health kind of segment that we're doing right now, right? There's also consequences. Online scams, right? Our elderly are among our most preyed upon, who we have to be concerned about, and don't want to take spam calls. They don't want to be preyed upon because they know how easy it is to do stuff like that, and the internet can be a scary place, right, for that. Other things there, right? Seniors can just get misinformation and just not know that. So that's, I think, the digital health point of, protection for our seniors that we should be promoting, right? How to get a best practice for seniors on working with their tech. How do you, simplify what a cell phone is for a senior or what a computer even is, right? So looking at this study, a focus group of 18 seniors uncovered similar findings. In this study, seniors interacted with tablets and spoke to researchers about their advantages and disadvantages. While the group expressed strong interest in learning new technologies, they also voiced similar concerns and expressed skepticism about using technology at all. So what did the studies conclude, right? You got to remedy that sort of digital divide between seniors and, the younger population. And what can you do to help, close those gaps? Well, taking that time to be patient with your senior and help introduce that to them in an easy way, right? Tips to train seniors on technology here, right? Build on existing knowledge. Maybe your grandma or grandpa or whoever it was, maybe they really like the radio, right? Maybe they really like the phone and they already got that part down. Maybe they like the radio. Show them how to listen to the radio through their phone, right? Whether it's iHeartRadio or whatever that is, but you can help them get to their favorite radio station using their phone. They can connect those concepts. You explain that relevance there to your seniors and you can get them doing these things, right? I don't, if you're a senior and happen to be catching you on this stream right now, what are the chances you're actually watching this on your TV, right? Doubt it. Most people, watch this content from their phones. Some people access YouTube from their TV. Some people know how to cast things to their TV content from their phone, but that's like a couple other levels up, right? So even getting to that pace and where you really can see that, maybe some people learned it because they wanted to ditch the satellite bill and get to some of the streaming other technologies there. So got to find ways to help seniors be relatable to their daily lives, their activities of daily living when you get them set up with devices. And the other parts there could be even exploring other, if they're a crossword person, have them do crosswords or Scrabble, right? Maybe what's their favorite game that they can play on there. And it's a great way to get that device, more trained. So again, maintaining independence, keeping social connection, super critical and super worth the time to make sure that seniors are trained on technology at the end of the day, right? Digital literacy. And so the awareness there of, hey, let's help our seniors be at the top of their game when it comes to tech. It takes a little time and patience, but those are some strategies on how to do that. And you can get to those points of looking at technologies to help, other parts like motion sensors to turn on lights when you're walking, right? Fall risk is such a thing. Putting those in key areas. Other just, FaceTime or video chat. Seniors, some can do it, some can't, but what can that do in terms of connection? It can do a lot. So that's where the promise is. And it can get that access to care in places that may not have had it before. So I hope that you can help your, boomers or later than that, era people get that addressed. We want to keep our seniors happy, healthy as long as we can. And that's part of our role. So again, cool. Tech Talk. Enlightenment Hour, guys. Moving on. Brought to you by the Trichome Alliance. We had such a great, connection today talking about seniors in cannabis. We had our presentation there over at Amador Live, and it was a really, really healthy discussion between, one another and connecting with that level of, hey, how is your grandpa thinking? How is your grandma thinking when maybe their stigma of cannabis and their relationship with cannabis may have been completely different than you ever were? Do you have the ability to, change their opinion on it? Or how can you educate someone who may have had a stigma on it, someone who may have been in a position of authority with you and, not necessarily take you seriously, and reverse the role of educating and helping them break some sort of, some barriers down, right? Some misinformation and perceptions. And cannabis has been stigmatized and thrown in the loop with a lot of other things. So that's what I'm getting at that's what we do with the Trichome Alliance today. Enlightenment Hour, sponsored by the Trichome Alliance, guys. Got seniors on my mind today. This one, we're talking about unlocking the secrets of happy seniors. So again, as we discussed here in the Tech Talk segment, happy seniors, what are we talking about? There's a lot of challenges that a senior faces in their life, right? Maybe it can be as bad as abuse or neglect, right? Social problems. Being frail leaves you dependent on others for needs, right? Or other tasks. So again, it can happen in homes, nursing homes. It can happen in childcare too, but at the same time, our frail population, our seniors are there, right? Our seniors need the access to, healthcare services to be happy. We've got all types of challenges that they hit: dementia, malnutrition, fall risk, depression and loneliness, lost sense of purpose, sensory impairment, urinary incontinence, social challenges, financial insecurity, social isolation, transportation issues, right? So on top of that, healthcare services and access to that is, a big deal, because you look at kind of the barriers and all of that and trying to age with grace and trying to, you know, find ways to be self-sustainable and independent. Well, it's a challenge at that age, right? And it's going to be. But how do you age with grace? How do you find those secrets to be a happy, healthy senior, right? Eating right and healthy, eating a nutritious diet can, help you even truly maintain your well-being, because, you're going to have compounding beneficial effects on your health, right? Or literally just walking. Seniors, you can really release endorphins by walking. And that's, something that I think is important to remember. I think walks are underrated, the most underrated form of exercise. They fix a lot of problems. Walks are better than, massages on your muscles, on your nerves. They straighten out the body. The body wants to align itself, and walking is a perfect way to do that. And on top of that, right, with the improved blood flow, right, those endorphins are coming out, and it really can help a senior really experience that. So maybe some seniors cannot walk, and that's completely understandable. What else can be done? Maybe, music, another way just to enjoy life. Dancing. Can you maybe, practice dancing with a YouTube video? Say you were technologically savvy, because you're there at your house and you can do whatever you want with all the time in the world, right? So combating those strategies of how to, unlock those secrets of happiness for seniors, right? Family and friends and that sort of engagement is top line there. Well-being is truly impacted by social and experiencing that love with, your family. When seniors go to unfamiliar environments and they change, it's very easy to jump into that lonely and isolated feeling. So, that engagement is an important thing, right? Helping adults stay connected. What can you do? How can aging adults practice that better themselves as well? Social media is a perfect way. It really is. The phones are great. All those chats through whatever way you can possibly do it. But for all those people who go and look at, where am I from? Where are my family members from? Looking at these letters and, maybe whatever other charts and things to connect with people that you may be related to and stuff that, people really used to do back in the day. They would go fill up their family book and check all that kind of stuff out. And obviously that has become so much more easier now. But what is that inherent human desire, right? It's that desire to connect. And, this is such a powerful way to do that. So understanding and helping seniors, jump into things like social connection, where they can get, more engaging conversations going with people that are, that they want to. And, everybody's opinion counts. Everybody's still, special. Older people have a lot of positive, things to say. So again, I think taking the time to listen to an older person, older people taking the time to actually, go express yourself and communicate, close those gaps. What can you do to really, really get that conversation out there, right? Very, very cool. Hope that, you can help use this segment and help a senior discover a new interest, help them, stay happy. How can you do that, right? How can you help a senior stay happy? Go through photos and memories. I bet, if it's a senior family member and you're looking at photos and memories, you're gonna trigger a whole lot of happiness. Other than that, let people build themselves. Try to encourage getting out there in the sun, getting vitamin D, and cultivating that friendship and advice, right? So it goes both ways. Healthcare providers can even learn this when we take care of seniors, right? Because they are among our most vulnerable. And oftentimes they have a lot of the hardest accesses to care, and a lot of times no support system. So again, one-on-one interactions with seniors, you can really make a difference, guys. I know maybe that's a harp that you guys already feel like you've heard before, but I hope that you take that into good consideration as you go into your weekend, as you go into your life, right? Take that extra time, learn from somebody else. Maybe, it's easier when you're younger to get caught into the world around you, and maybe even think, old people are not cool. Some of these things that teenagers think, right? So think about that. Think about how to address that in your life. And I bet you add a lot of value to everybody else's life in your world around you. Next up, moving on to Herbal Wellness Corner, guys. Brought to you by High Horse Cannabis. Talking about following up again on our Trichome Alliance meeting today. High Horse Cannabis is a part of the Trichome Alliance, and as part of that commitment to education and drive that High Horse has as their mission is really making sure that seniors do have access to education and their medicine. And even in this, I just want to talk about something I thought was really, really cool. And this has been since about 2019, but there's a nursing home in New York that's really set a positive standard here for cannabis. And I love this. So it's called the Hebrew Home. And this nursing home in New York actually is a skilled nursing facility where they brought in cannabis, right? So again, the geriatrician there, Zachary Palace, their chief medical director, he saw that many of the conditions that qualified for the drug were those that he saw regularly in the elderly, like chronic or neuropathic pain, Parkinson's disease, and MS. Again, this is New York. So everybody's qualifying conditions for cannabis are going to vary state to state, just to keep that in mind. And what the chief medical director at this skilled nursing facility, 735 patients that live there, beds, bigger than I think anything we have in town for sure, at least Las Cruces. But, his description of medications typically used in older adults with all kinds of conditions such as the ones we just listed, MS, neuropathic or chronic pain, Parkinson's, right? All those medications also come with a host of side effects. And when he's looking at, the elderly having to stack or layer medications and looking at the interactions in that system, right? As I was kind of describing earlier, as we go through medication regimen reviews and consultant pharmacists and providers all kind of look at practices and how this all works into one another. Interesting to see the quote here. Again, from the chief medical director at the Hebrew Home. He said, even something as benign as aspirin can cause problems in the elderly. We're always looking to simplify patient regimens, and cannabis seemed like a probable solution. So where you even look at, starting this whole segment off, show off, talking about Beer's criteria and medications that, increase sedation or delirium or whatever other, effects may be, confusion, dependence, fall risk, stroke. Well, this nursing home really set the example to try to jump out there, the Hebrew Home, and get patients access to their medicine. Right? So they created a model there, and what they do is that the physicians there manage and monitor the dose of cannabis taken by each patient. So they just literally view it like another medication on the chart. And they start at one standard dose and change it, from there, adjusting. And, a patient testimonied from the Hebrew home, she was able to reduce her opioid dose in half. There's just so much there, and I'm excited to just share that with everybody. I hope that this can carry on and become something cool. I hope that some nursing facility eventually here in the state of New Mexico gets to really stand behind something like that. There's a lot of opportunity there to really make a lot of positive impact. I'm sure you guys probably saw Sanjay Gupta's, or maybe somebody did, maybe somebody didn't. Dr. Sanjay Gupta had a recent cannabis documentary with seniors, and he was talking about the pharmaceutical spend every year and how that is north of $580 billion. And has that gotten out of control? Yeah, probably. Not to replace that sort of money and say that, pharmaceutical spend should get replaced with cannabis spend by any means. But, when the United States is spending trillions of dollars on healthcare every year, having repeat events, we're having preventable things, where can cannabis really actually help to impact those numbers? Where is the stigma of cannabis now, maybe hurting our healthcare system more than helping? How can you get patients' opioid doses down? How can you maybe, decrease delirium and anxiety in geriatric populations and seniors? CBD, THC, full spectrum oil, these are great options. Not many providers are going to know how to get you to where you need to be, but, making this a known thing and asking the right questions to the right people, you will find what you need to do. And, there's always value in starting low and going slow. Got to know your dose and got to find it, right? So cool. Hopefully somewhere in New Mexico eventually becomes like the Hebrew home, guys. If you guys, should go check that thing out on the internet. I just highly recommend it. Coolio, moving on, community spotlight segment, guys, highlighting Canaan Bower, guys, from, he was a graduate of Mayfield High School and recently actually passed away. He had a very cool moment up in Doniana where he stopped a robbery, and he was a wrestler. He got a shout out from Dana White, the commissioner of the UFC. So, super cool that story was there. There was a video of him literally taking down and, saving the day, taking down the intruder. And, it was terrible that just last year, Canaan passed away in a motorcycle accident. And now it's gotten to the point of there's a scholarship out in his name, and the first scholarship this year, or first scholarship in his name annual, was given out. So, very cool. The Canaan Bower Memorial Scholarship was given to a Mayfield High School student, and she was a wrestling student, Valeria Garcia Aguirre. So I think that's awesome, and shout out to that young man, and rest in peace. We, truly do honor his name here around our community, and hope he does continue to be honored in all the right ways. Guys, moving on to the next segment, last segment of the day, talking about men's health minute, incontinence and men's health, talking little candidly. Cool. So what is incontinence, guys? Something that happens to, both men and women as they age. We'll talk about it in men today. In men, incontinence is often related to the prostate gland. Prostate gland can, literally squeeze your urethra out of position, leading to incontinence. Prostatitis is when the prostate gland gets, big and inflamed. So, what is male incontinence? How can anything be done about, aging and incontinence? Can it be cured by surgery? Well, talking about prostate checks there, guys, what do what sort of familial history do you have? You know, we have to really go all the way there, because I'm sure if you guys understand that men the way they age, sometimes, guys just can't pee. You can't pee. And it gets to that point. Testing is done to look at the urinalysis and how that is measured, right? And is it related to the prostate? Is it related to the bladder? What has gone on? So again, shouting out today in our Men's Health Minute, what causes incontinence in men? What is incontinence, right? The accidental leaking of urine. And so, right, you urinate, your nerves tell your muscles in your bladder to squeeze. That squeeze forces urine out of the bladder and into the urethra. At the same time, the bladder squeezes, the urethra relaxes, allowing urine to pass through the urethra and body. So again, your bladder can squeeze at the wrong time or squeeze too hard, may not empty when it should. So again, stress incontinence, urge incontinence, overflow incontinence can all be different types of incontinence. And very important to, mention that awareness in your aging population, especially in your men, right? Drinking alcohol can make incontinence worse. Over-the-counter medications or prescription medications can make incontinence worse, such as diuretics, sedatives, antidepressants, opiates, even cold medications, right? Cough and colds, right? So again, male incontinence, if you guys do have difficulties peeing, don't be afraid to tell your doctor. Same as women as well. But that's what we're shouting out tonight, guys. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Hump Day Wednesday. And we are done today empowering seniors. We had a good talk talking about, our most frail and our most vulnerable, and we got to take care of them in all the best ways. So as always, this is Dr. Joaquin, and I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow. Signing out.